Nebraska. In Nebraska. Who in the calls up the National Guard for a protest in Nebraska? It's Nebraska. Did I mention it's rural as Nebraska? Welcome back to the channel that likely if you're watching you haven't subscribed to, which is crazy. Do it. Considering it takes very little effort in comparison to so much going on in the world today. It takes more effort to order your next diarrhea-inducing meal through DoorDash or Uber Eats than it does to hit the subscribe button. And I know you guys are able to order those types of meals that induce diarrhea because I drive that thing on the daily, delivering some of the most Vietnam bathroom-inducing meals I have ever seen in my life.
Good morning, Vietnam!
One person ordered a seafood boil in Taco Bell. One person at one apartment, and I know this because for some reason he wanted to have the order handed to him, which don't do that. Just have it left at your door unless it's like alcohol or drugs. But he was claiming that his neighbor's kid steal his food sometimes, so he has it to where people have to hand him the order. Kind of understandable, but also it lets you know when the DoorDash person has arrived and is walking towards your front door, so just don't do this. But you can also subscribe. Do it. And there were no other occupants. It was all for him and sheer violence against his toilet. Can we have a protest for the domestic issue of toilet abuse along with the current topic of this video, No Kings protests? As of recording this video and writing this script, not only am I recovering from a fun night with your dad, he's pencil sized by the way, but knows what he's doing. But over the recent weekend, there was a bunch of No Kings protests across the United States to show discontent with the orange peel currently inhabiting our White House. Many of these protests were born out of response for growing tensions from ICE raids and economic fallout, but also from just everything. I mean, Trump is under on most issues in the country, and I think Trump is going to be golfing a whole lot more as things begin to continue rising in tension. That fat fuck has golfed more than Biden, Obama, and Bush combined at this point. At least that's how I feel. Anyways, over the weekend, in the hopes it would drown out these protests and create some patriotism, yes, I know it was planned before conservatives stopped typing. Optics, ho. Optics. They matter. Trump had the army celebrate its 250th birthday with a parade, paid for with American tax dollars on streets that do not have the means to carry a full load of traffic, let alone war machines, and with so little riz that I genuinely believed China's parade organizers were thinking to themselves that war is absolutely winnable now, because what the fuck is this? You can't even do a parade. Which I know we talk about China, North Korea, and depending on whether one is discussing pre-Ukraine or post-Ukraine, Russia, and its abilities to throw on actual patriotic parades. What we need to be talking about is the absolute alpha behavior shown by the Indian military during its parades. Could you imagine going to war with India and they charged you with this John Wick fucking Cirque du Soleil combo, just firing blazes at you and I don't know, some like Bollywood music in the background, like and you get killed. Imagine getting killed like that. I'd rather die in COD through a knife throw at the beginning of the match than die to some shit going on like that. Many governors in states which had these protests declared state of emergencies and ordered up the National Guard. States like Nebraska, Missouri, and Texas. These governors believing that the No Kings protest would bring about the end times in terms of civil strife. Which, to be fair, the way some media and right-wing talking points regarding this have been posting these things, it seems as though these protests are essentially akin to the civil rights protest of old, when they could lie so easily and say the blacks are destroying America and wanted equality. That's racist! Which it's crazy that that was literally the actual like headlines in a summary, and people didn't think maybe we should just give them equality. Like, what's wrong with people wanting equality? Crazy viewpoint to have then, but even crazier now considering the No Kings protests were not only organized, which the civil rights protests in most cases were as well, but very, very, very much full of liberal individuals.
What's that?
Disregard that, Frank. It's a bunch of liberal bullshit.
Specifically liberal suburban individuals. Specifically liberal suburban comfortable and steady income individuals. Specifically liberal vote every cycle and have some form of higher education individuals. White people. There were lots of white people, like a lot of middle class white people, finally out to protest in mass. And honestly, I get it. Like, no shade. When you aren't a part of the group actively being pressed down and live relatively comfortable or with the ability to weather the storm enough, it is easy to essentially be supportive of those who are oppressed with a flag in the front yard or a sticker on your car, or to just avoid associating with people who are oppressive as a form of resistance. But, and as shitty as this I told you so is,
Just say it.
well, we told you so.
You know, somehow, I told you so just doesn't quite say it.
Even if they don't come for you, coming for others just being who they are, others just trying to survive for the fact of those two things will always impact you, whether you're in those groups or not. Many farms are beginning to enter not just economic uncertainty, they live that on the literal daily in this country, but many are entering the road of guaranteed closure, bankruptcy, and eventually selling to the bank. Many industrial or similar nature job fields and their companies are panicking as they are seeing more than just a trickle of their workforce disappearing. Some schools had to have volunteers on the watch for ICE agents during graduation ceremonies to ensure that students who have undocumented members of their family could still attend and not have to watch over their shoulder the entire time, as someone else watched it for them.
You don't understand how hard it is, all right? I'm tormented. Every day at school is like I'm being suffocated, and sure, we can sit and fantasize all we want about how things are going to be different one day, but this is today, and it sucks.
Many people have seen folks they have come to not only work with, but even go and eat real Hispanic food at their homes with their families, becoming families without proper blood attachment as one would normally consider a family. Many people have seen those folks essentially retreat from life outside the home or simply disappear in a sea of pain, as several members of families are whipped up and thrown into outright unjust holding facilities where food is a luxury, water is a rarity, and legal representation is a laughable idea. Not only does that play on the heartstrings and make you question your own humanity, but for it to be done in your name or for your benefit is something akin, in my mind, and seemingly in many, to be an outright insult of your own existence, especially when all that costs a shit ton of money. Mind you, they aren't even giving many of these migrants access to basic shit. Probably don't even have Wi-Fi in some of these facilities, and still, this is costing so much money. Meanwhile, they refuse to put money in Medicare or Medicaid. They reduce or take away some people's food stamps. You don't even know the last time you actually filled your tank fully up because you can't afford it. And also, you should probably sell that F-150. You live in a suburb.
You're so stupid.
And you have a slowly growing obsession with wondering, can Luigi be replicated as you are denied treatment because your insurance says that even the generic version of medication is too expensive, so you can just do it out of pocket on your own, as if you can afford the expensive medication out of pocket on your own. That might sound personal, but there is a likelihood that at least 40% of Americans have heard that response from an insurance company before, I don't know, age 30. And yes, I am a part of that 40%. Do you know how much estrogen is?
God damn it.
And what's even crazier is I pulled that number out of my ass, and there is a higher likelihood that I am actually undershooting the actual percentage. Anyways, people are fed up, and the No Kings protests, which were planned and happened all across the country, did so not only on the day of this unnecessary military parade, but also on the day of the taco dictator's birthday.
It's not easy doing what I do, is it? Not easy.
And this, of course, prompted many Republican governors to get themselves brownie points under the guise of law and order with their constituents. either not realizing it wasn't just minorities protesting, or just like Trump and his admin going mask off and just not even giving a shit to appeal to their base, as many red state governors declared state of emergencies before the protest even began, and also calling up their National Guards. One state which I find hilarious that did this is Nebraska. Fucking Nebraska. Who in the fuck calls up the National Guard for a protest in Nebraska? It's Nebraska. Did I mention it's rural as fuck Nebraska? Yeah. There's probably more animals in the state than there are people. There's probably more sheep in Nebraska than there are people. And I don't even think Nebraska has fucking sheep. Governor Jim Pillen, who I imagine is what every alcoholic Midwest dad looks like leaving the bar to go get their 60th DUI of the quarter, declared a state of emergency. A local Nebraska Examiner article states, late Friday, the governor issued an emergency proclamation that activated the Guard and prepared Guard and state law enforcement resources for immediate deployment if needed, a governor spokeswoman confirmed. Typical National Guard activation can take up to 24 hours, but that proclamation shortens that time. Nebraska has seen several protests in recent days over a federal immigration raid that hit an Omaha food plant, in what immigration officials said was the largest Nebraska enforcement operation since President Donald Trump took office. Most of the protests have been peaceful, though federal officials arrested 4 protesters from the original raid site, Glen Valley Foods, alleging aggressive behavior and damage to federal property. Bro, it's Nebraska. It's Nebraska. Everyone living there is basically different versions of boring and chill fused together. Plus, you don't have a Waymo car to burn up, creating a focal point for the illusion of chaos through the media. If I was in the Nebraska National Guard, y'all would have had to throw me in the brig, because there is no way I am leaving my fucking house and driving up 10 hours to stand and watch my grandma give Trump the middle finger. That's just stupid. It's a waste of time. But Pillen isn't the only red state dipshit as alluded to. Missouri's Mike Kehoe, whose mom definitely was a hoe that clearly didn't swallow,
Pow.
also declared a state of emergency, stating in a press release he made the declaration in an executive order and directed the Missouri National Guard to mobilize. Kehoe ordered the militia's adjutant general, Major General Charles Hausman, to call into service however many troops needed to protect the people and property and help state officials. The governor also directed Hausman to use whatever equipment necessary for supporting the officials. We respect and will defend the right to peacefully protest, but we will not tolerate violence or lawlessness in our state, Governor Kehoe said in a press release. While other states may wait for chaos to ensue, the state of Missouri is taking a proactive approach in the event that assistance is needed to support local law enforcement and protecting our citizens and communities. There are demonstrations planned Saturday across Missouri as part of a nationwide No Kings event in which protesters vocalize opposition to the Trump administration. Governor Kehoe said additional state resources are needed to help relieve the conditions of distress and hazard to the safety and welfare of the citizens of several cities. The events that are occurring or could occur in the cities of Kansas City, Springfield, St. Louis, and other affected communities in the state of Missouri have created or may create conditions of distress and hazards to the safety, welfare, and property of the citizens and visitors of the communities beyond the capacities of local jurisdictions and other established agencies, the executive order states. That was just a fucking word salad of bullshit. Once again, Missouri National Guardsmen, your weekend has been taken over by a nutjob who wants you to beat the living shit out of your Aunt Betsy. Not the one who touched you as a child, but the one who had had enough and beat the shit out of her ex-husband and then took you for ice cream after your Little League games. All because she wants to shout for 1 or 2, maybe 3 days, fuck Donald Trump. There was an entire song about it and it didn't get this much a response. The next governor I want to talk about is one who is in a state with some major stakes in the game in comparison to the previous two. Not that Nebraska or Missouri are insignificant. They are insignificant. I'm sorry. No shade, but you're insignificant. I live in North Carolina, okay? Outside of RTP, the Outer Banks, and the Blue Ridge Mountains areas, we quite literally have nothing to show for it except for the greatest rivalry in college sports and a claim to several American Idol winners. Hashtag fuck Scotty McCreery. Texas Hot Wheels Governor Greg Abbott, who always looked like a super drain nutsack to me, also deployed National Guard troops to counter the protests, which isn't a lot considering the fact that Texas is one of those states where you could drive 3 straight days and still be in it. But still, National Guard troops are being called up to counter their aunties and uncles, moms and dads, cousins and siblings saying fuck Trump, which we all dislike our families for varying reasons, and there are members of our family that we most definitely would knock the living fucking daylights out of them. If we knew there'd be no retaliation, they wouldn't remember it, and maybe we could put them in a coma for like a month and just everyone move about their life. But still, seems a bit much to actually put yourself in a position to go through with it, right? Because let's be real, Trump is pissing off everyone. He made Elon state facts we already know to shit on him. He's got several senators questioning his sanity with spending bills. He's got even some evangelicals and business owners beginning to challenge the narrative spun. And now he has built up enough anger to have middle-aged white women and dads going through midlife crisis launch a nationwide protest proclaiming no kings. But of course there are still loyalists who will never see that, including the nutjob right-wing merc who assassinated 2 Minnesota state politicians and attempted to assassinate 2 others. To those in the comments of the right-wing variety still here, trying to spread a conspiracy theory that the dude was somehow a liberal or Antifa or whatever you guys identify Democrats as now these days, the dude was a security merc, okay? And he was an evangelical. There's literally videos of him preaching to a church in like Ghana or some shit.
Oh, sin! Et il n'y a aucun péché that God can't take care of. Dieu ne peut pas enlever. Nothing! Il n'y a rien. There's people, especially in America. Il y a des gens, particulièrement aux États-Unis. They don't know what sex they are. They don't know how their sexual orientation. They're confused.
What?
These two things and libtard or Democrat cannot even remotely go in the same sentence without killing each other. So trust me, he was a Republican nutjob. He just was. And that is the only per se state of emergency declaration I would agree with based on today's sensibilities, not my own, but just society in general. And even then, I don't believe Minnesota declared so. Just launched a manhunt in tandem with federal agencies. They have arrested him finally after 2 days of this manhunt, and thankfully so, because dude had a list with 70 other names. By the way, some of the key names were the governor, Tim Walz, you know, everyone's favorite dad, and Ilhan Omar, one of the leftiest of left members of Congress there is. I would even go as far as saying she is more left-leaning than Bernie Sanders and AOC. You just don't hear much about her because she is Muslim, wears a hijab, and has a name you can't pronounce easily, because Islamophobia has gone absolutely nowhere in this country. It is still one of the top tier racisms that this country loves to racism. But let me know down in the comments, would you be mad you couldn't spend the weekend on your front porch looking out onto the fields and fields of isolation, all because the worst people in your state decided your family members needed to be tear gassed, beaten, arrested for holding up a sign that says no kings? Which, considering America's written version of history, is simply ironically poetic. Or would you not be mad and want to beat your grandma for that one time she popped you across the head with a cane because you were a cunt? You just were. I'm sorry, everyone that has ever been a kid has been a cunt at some point in their lives. People love to act like kids are great and perfect, but kids are more cunt than they are pure. Thankfully, I live in North Carolina and our governor wasn't that level of idiocracy, but it's fucking Nebraska. No way those crowds were going to be even remotely overwhelmingly minorities. It's fucking Nebraska.